Howdy friends and family, thank you so much for joining me. This is week 14, day 1 in the series that I'm doing with Christ Memorial Lutheran Church about knowing God. And this last week we talked about how the Lord is our shepherd. This week we are talking about how the Lord is our righteousness. So we're going to start out by looking at how Jesus is righteous. And to understand what this means, we first need to look at what righteous means. Righteous can mean acting in accord with divine or moral law, free from guilt and sin. It can also mean morally right and justifiable. Or it could also mean right with God. That's more of your Christian definition, is that you are right with God. And Jeremiah 23 verses 5 through 6 says, "Look, the days are coming. This is the Lord's declaration. When I will raise up a righteous branch for David, he will reign wisely as king and administer justice and righteousness in the land. In his days, Judah will be saved and Israel will dwell securely. This is the name he will be called. The Lord is our righteousness." So here we actually get the name for God straight from the New Testament, and that is the Lord is our righteousness. And in Hebrew, this is Yahweh Sidkenu. Now, Yahweh, of course, we've seen this before. You're probably getting tired of me saying it. But Yahweh is the name for God. It was the Israelites' original name for God that meant I am, eternal, both referencing God and also these aspects that we've tied to his name, saying that he is this and he will not stop being this. So the Sidkenu part comes from the word Tzedek, and I might be butchering how to say that, but it comes from the word Tzedek, and Tzedek means straight or rigid. And when people would use that to speak in Hebrew, it would give a meaning of justice or righteousness. So really, it is pretty literally, pretty straightforward saying the Lord is our righteousness. God is righteous. He is our righteousness. So we see this prophecy promising Jesus and saying that Jesus will be righteous. He will be righteousness for the people. But we also see that Jesus is righteous based on his actions. If we look at 1 Peter 2:22, we see he did not commit sin and no deceit was found in his mouth. You can also see this same sentiment expressed in Hebrews 4:15, 2 Corinthians 5:21, and 1 John 3:5. And those are three different writers who all say he did not sin. And if we think about it, being right with God is when we have not sinned against him. And so Jesus did not sin. He was right with God. He was living in accord with that divine and moral law that God had given. He was living on God's straight and narrow path. He was righteous because he didn't sin. He followed God no matter where God went. He was free from guilt or sin. Jesus is righteous. He lived a life according to what God set before him, and he did not stray from God's path. Not even once did he sin. And that is what makes him righteous. And so the rest of this week, we are going to be looking at the dynamic between us and Jesus and how he is our righteousness. Not only is he righteous, but he is our righteousness. And so the verse we're going to be memorizing this week is 2 Corinthians 5:21 that I mentioned earlier, that talks both about how Jesus is righteous, but also is righteous for us. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you guys next time.